Hey, welcome to another one of Todd's 2-Minute Tech Tip Tuesday.
Brought to you by the National RV Training Academy.
Hey, before we get to the video, which I know this is the reason why you're here, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. That way you don't miss anything. Hit the subscribe button now. Thank you. Now, back to our Tech Tip Tuesday. I've been gone for a while. I'm sure you got a lot of questions, but as my good old buddy Mark T. Wayne once said, rumors of my demise are greatly over-exaggerated. Hey, I've taken a break for a while over here at the NRVTA and providing you some wonderful tech tips. However, we've had a lot of our instructors come in and help out, but I'm back in the saddle, not only to help with tech tips, but answer your questions. So thank you for holding on. I know you've been rooting for me. All right, so I've been gone. Let's go ahead and answer some questions. I hope they're all fixed.
Todd, what happens if there's nothing of the anode rod remaining?
Okay, so question being, what happens if nothing? Got a little toothpick. So in the water heater, specifically the Suburban, it's a tanked water heater, Suburban. It's got an iron, cast iron, or an iron tank. Now, some of them have porcelain lined or whatnot, but here's the thing, right? You have minerals inside a tank. It's made of metal. And over time, what will happen is the minerals are going to start forming onto the tank itself. The anode rod itself is a sacrificial rod to prevent that from happening, right? As those minerals start getting on the tank, they're going to pit the tank, and that's just going to lower the integrity of the tank. So we use an anode rod to do that. If you don't have one, right, you want to first check your brand. In the RV space, 2 different brands of tanked water heater as of right now, right? So you still have the Suburban, which you need the anode rod. But if you have the Dometic or an older Atwood, you don't need an anode rod. You have a plastic drain plug.
Why is that, Todd?
Because it's made of aluminum. And aluminum itself doesn't interact with most of the minerals. Now, we have seen some weird stuff out there where minerals from one location mixed in with minerals from another location, so on and so on, has created a weird kind of sludge inside those aluminum tanks too. So just keep looking at it. Got to wash those out, clean those out. But definitely in the Suburban, keep your anode rod in there.
How often do you want to wash out your water heater?
So it's kind of hard to say. I typically say look at it at least every 6 months. Again, because you're traveling, you may be going to places where there's hard water. A lot of minerals inside and everything else. Well, that's going to deplete that anode rod faster. You may go to places where completely soft water, and you can go a whole year with that anode rod. So just best to check it twice a year.
I have another one here.
All right. This is the water heater, or is it a furnace?
I have another water heater.
Gotcha.
It's a Suburban water heater.
Suburban water heater.
How do I adjust the altitude adjustment?
All right. Now, on the water heater, and it all really depends. Whenever it comes from the OEM, from Suburban, they're gonna give you an additional nipple, right? A high elevation nipple, right? So what happens is when you go up in elevation, you have to have the proper air to gas mixture, right? So the one that is provided on the Suburban as it is, right? It's just typically for anything less than 5,000 feet above sea level. They do have one. Now, it all depends on where you bought the RV, if it's used or if you bought it used or if it's new. If it's new, it's got to be somewhere in the RV, maybe taped to the back side of the RV. Could be in your welcome packet, something like that, because, of course, the dealership may put that there. If you can't find it, see if you can go on Amazon and just type in Suburban water heater, high elevation nipple. And then cross your fingers you don't see anything weird.
Yeah, and if you're really confused, you may want to hire an RV tech to
use Amazon. Yes.
Yeah.
Can do that.
Okay, this one, Larry Clark, 5355. You may simply wish to pass on this question, but I'll ask anyway. So, all right, good start so far.
Yeah, pass.
I could not figure out any other place to ask. Well, you are in the right place, Larry Clark. Should I remake a bus into an RV, or are there any codes or laws saying I must have separate black and gray tanks? So I think there's 2 questions in one there. Should I make a bus into an RV? Sure, a lot of people have done it. But I think the real question in this massive paragraph is, must I have a separate black and gray tank?
Okay, so to my knowledge, nothing in the NFPA requires there to be a separation between your black tank and gray tank. Now, on a lot of models, and actually the early models, the Airstreams, we just had one tank. It was just a gray and black. I think the reason for separation is way more gray water fills up so much faster. Right? And it gives you the ability, because certain places you can dump gray water in certain locations. You can't dump black water, there. So there's no code, to my knowledge, through NFPA that says that your waste tank has to be separated, gray and black. You can do the same, but you are limited to make sure that when you do dump it, that it always has to be in a location that allows for that type of dumping.
Man, if your P-trap isn't on point,
No, yeah.
That could be.
Well,
that
that's
could
not
be
going
a,
to happen anyway, but yeah.
Yeah. All right. So Merry Christmas, Larry.
Yeah.
That's how he ended this. Thank you, Larry. Also, if you don't agree with anything that Todd says, I know you always agree with me, but I don't say anything important. Um, all you keyboard warriors, go down in the comments and let us know what you think about the answers to these questions, and we promise we'll keep Todd off the chat.
Ah! Middle.
Yvette Bulock, I have a Norcold refrigerator.
Uh-huh.
And we're going to put this down on the bottom. Yvette, we're going to try to get through this. This is how it was written. I have a Norcold refrigerator and a 28th SOAR,
Okay, so it's probably that's the model of the RV.
possibly.
28 foot.
And once I turn off the generator, it won't stay on the propane or even start the propane. So the refrigerator, once the generator's off, it won't switch over to propane. I tried to troubleshoot it, and I came back out to the back of the refrigerator. I could hear it tick, tick, ticking. Could you help me? Could you help me without question?
Yes.
We will help you without any question.
Without any questions. It's all statements. Okay. So it sounds like you have a Norcold refrigerator that runs both on 120 volts, but it also runs on propane. When the generator's running, refrigerator runs fine, right? I guess as well, shore power would be the same. But when you flip over to take off the generator, so you're boondocking, the propane should kick in. So you say you hear it ticking, so that means the signal from the eyebrow board or belly board, that's what we call those things, is going down there and it's calling for it, but all you're hearing is a tick, 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 and there's no boom. Okay, so a couple things. You want to check your propane. Is propane going through? You said you heard the tick, 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 tick. There's a solenoid in the gas valve that keeps the propane at bay whenever you're not using it. You know, do you smell propane as it's ticking? Don't get too close, right? So this is more of a question, hey, which signal's not going there? And quite honestly, since it's propane, I would definitely recommend hiring a qualified technician to come out and look at that as I'm going over this. You know, maybe you want to do that. But it sounds like you are getting the signal to the circuit board for it to work, but there's some other signal, whether it's propane coming through or whether the igniter is working or whether it's blocked. Right, so it's going to be right in the back of that refrigerator area, but qualified technician definitely help out. Where would we find such a qualified technician?
Google.
Google.
Anyways.
There's your tech tip. All right, before you get to the bloopers, which is why you're here in the first place, the RV industry needs thousands of RV technicians and inspectors, and now is the perfect time to do that. If you want to make more money or have more control over your time, go ahead and click the link below. Or if you just want to learn how to fix your own RV, got something for you there. Head over to rvtechcourse.com and get started today. Now for the reason that you're at the end of the video, roll the bloopers. Don't know.
You're doing great, man. Welcome back. I know you're a little rusty from being gone for so long.
I know, I
but
got to
it's
take
awesome
that
you're
off.
back.
But hey, you know, I have to fake the fun stuff here at the end. So
Right. Well, you can fake some more stuff here with answering these questions.
Hey,
As my little old brother.
yeah. But as my, you know,
Yep.
There's your tech tip. Don't mind do that a couple times.
There's your tech tip.